There we go.
Here we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome back to yet another episode of Father Groove's Groovy Mix Podcast. I'm your host, Father Groove, and today we have a very cool guest from Manchester, UK, Manchester, England, Kel Page from the Empty Page, bassist vocalist, of course. And I found her. Say hello.
Hi.
Yep. So, Kel, I ran into her music on Instagram and fell in love with it. And for me, that's what piqued my attention. I saw what you were doing. I was like, this is super, super cool. I had to have you on. You at first said, well, I'm not a technical player. And I said, I don't care. I like your music. I want to talk to you about your music and how your music cultivated, how your bass playing cultivated to where you are today as a vocalist, as a performer. And that for me was more interesting for me. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So my first question to you is this. Did the bass choose you or did you choose the bass?
The bass is a philosophical thing, right?
Yes.
I think it was a bit of both. I never really wanted to be a bass player. I played guitar first, as a lot of people do, I guess. I picked up guitar when I was about 12 and I have never learned how to play it since. But I use it as a vehicle for writing songs, like that's why I ever pick up an instrument, really, because I want to write songs, and I wanted, when I was younger, I was doing it on my own, and I wanted to be able to do that independently and sort of as a whole thing without relying on anyone else. So I picked up a guitar to do that. And then with the bass, I'd been in a10 years or so at this point. And I was singing mainly, and I was doing a little bit of guitar here and there, a little bit of rhythm. And the band was on its last legs. I mean, we knew it was over. And I picked up the bass because I wanted, number one, I wanted a new challenge. I wanted to try and play a different instrument. And also, honestly, as anyone who's in a band knows, it's very difficult. The personnel side of things is one of the hardest sides of things. And I didn't want to be I wanted to minimize the number of musicians in the band that were going to not be able to do the tour if we got offered the tour. Like, that was one of the main reasons. I thought, if I can do both, then we only need a guitar player and a drummer, and we'll take these opportunities, because a lot of the time, you can't do them because people have got day jobs or other commitments, especially as you start to get a little bit older and you've been doing it for a while. And yeah, it was a purely practical thing, really. And then also, I didn't want a bass player in the band. Because
I don't want a bass player in the band. I'll do it myself.
Because sometimes bass players are they're trying too hard. They want to they play too much, and our guitar player Giz is such a talent, and my lyrics and my vocals are so important that I wanted it to be that sort of simple chassis underneath everything else. I didn't want to have someone whittling away, blah, 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 trying to sort of overdo it. I wanted it to just be super simple. And I knew that most people who consider themselves to be a bass player would feel almost offended by having to just play that very simple, solid stuff. So I thought, well, let me do it. And I don't care what anyone thinks about my technical ability. My main focus is the song. I want the song to be good. I want the vocals and the guitars to have space. And so I did it. I decided to do it myself.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I also like the idea that you're doing that, and you're also doing it in a way that it's you're basically looking from the point of writing, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And also, most bass players don't realize that you're there to serve the song. So the band's obviously called the Empty Page. It's your last name. So if he wants to come in there and noodle, he'd have to find another band.
Kind of my name is not my real name, Kel Page, but we won't go into that. But yeah, it works well for the band. But yeah, the name came from a Sonic Youth song, actually. We stole it from a Sonic Youth song, the Empty Page, and we liked it because the Sonic Youth song comes from a Jack Kerouac quote from the Dharma Bums, and I love all that kind of beat generation stuff of just wanting to bum around and be creative. Like, I've never wanted to have a job. I've always deeply resented.
No one wants a real job.
Yeah, exactly. Very much relate to the idea of just bumming around and being a musician and an artist and chilling out on this weird beautiful earth that we have, you know. And this quote says that and I saw that my life was a vast glowing empty page and I could do anything I wanted. And we felt like that was exactly how we felt at the time, because we weren't really trying to create a band necessarily. We actually didn't we had to come up with a name because we had a gig. We got offered a gig before we had a name. And we were like, well, let's just think of some bands we like and steal a song title, because it's worked for a lot of bands in the past to do that. And I don't even know that we'd ever thought we'd keep that band name, but it felt like very it felt like the kind of band name that wasn't going to throttle you as an artist. That, you know, if you would call yourself something that sounds very punk or, you know, sounds very folk or very metal, you're going to be kind of stuck making that kind of music. And we wanted to have the expanse of our influences open to us, and we didn't want to have to, fit a genre that we'd like bricked ourselves into by giving us ourselves a name, too much within a genre, if that makes sense.
Awesome. So growing up in the UK, what were you listening to in your house? Like, what were your parents playing?
So I had almost like, it felt like I had four parents, because I had my parents and then I had my brothers who were a lot older than me. So I had four really big influences. My mum was a massive Beatles and Dylan fan, and she liked Joni Mitchell and all that kind of hippie kind of 60s stuff. And my dad was into amazing, like, you can't really beat the Beatles as a foundational songwriting influence. And then my dad really liked sort of extremes. My dad loved Kate Bush. She was a huge influence. She was a huge artist for him. So I listened to Kate Bush all the time when I was little. She's a genius. He also loved Tina Turner. He loved a lot of Motown, a lot of soul, and he loved a lot of like proggy stuff. He liked Pink Floyd and bands like that, and like Yes. Okay. So all sorts from him. And then I had two brothers. One was into heavy metal almost exclusively. So he was into like, your Motorhead and AC/DC and all that kind of stuff. And then the other one was into the really, at the time, I think I was more influenced by the heavy metal brother, but I should have listened more to my cooler brother, who was into the bands of the era of like Manchester of the early 90s, I suppose it was. It was bands like the Happy Mondays and the Fall and the Smiths and all of those kinds of so
more the new wavy northern soul. They were more like new wave, and like the Happy Mondays were also very like Blur and the Stone Roses, very similar, almost hippie English type of new wave.
Yeah, a bit psychedelic, bit of sort of dance music influence. And lyric. Also, my brother really loved PJ Harvey, and that was another big influence for me. So all of that era.
That's awesome. So when did you get your very first bass?
I got my first bass when I decided to play the bass. So it was when I started this band, The Empty Page, which actually wasn't ever necessarily going to be a band. We'd been in a band for a long time, me and the same guitar player, and we'd been doing that very seriously for all this time, and we knew it was coming to an end, and we knew we probably wanted to carry on playing music, but we just wanted to go back to having some fun. So we just got a friend of ours, Jim, who's a drummer, and we just said, let's do some covers. Kelly wants to learn to play bass, so let's just jam some covers. So we picked covers by like some more ambitious than others. We picked some like Sonic Youth, Pixies, Radiohead, and then Fugazi and all sorts. And just got in a room and I realized as soon as I got my first bass and started trying to play like that I'd grossly underestimated how difficult it was to sing and play the bass at the same time, and how very different that is to singing and playing guitar. So my first bass I'll show you. This is my first bass, and I still have it. It's a Jaguar. It's a short. It's a short scale. And it was perfect because I hadn't really played bass before, so because it's smaller, it just felt a bit more manageable when I was singing at the same time. I didn't want to be like stretching my arm up here, and, feeling
you're not reaching 30 miles away to try to play your instrument.
Exactly, like some big Thunderbird or something like that. So I was like, let's just get something that's manageable, so that I can yeah, so that I can sing and play a little more easily. But it's bloody hard, and I realized very quickly, especially trying to play Fugazi, we pretty much gave up on that. To
Yeah,
sing and play at the same time is tough.
that's awesome. So you have your first bass. What was the very first song that you played on it where you were comfortable singing and playing at the same time?
Don't make me play it. It was probably Monkey Gone to Heaven by the Pixies.
Well, do 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 do
Yeah.
do do
Exactly.
do. I love it. I never get tired of that song.
No, I know, isn't it weird? They're just so classic songs, and they just never get boring. I was in the pub the other night. We did a gig the other night, and someone put on a Debaser on the jukebox, and everyone in the pub was like, "Debate!" Like everyone's just into it. Like the second it comes on, it perks everyone up. There's just something magical about the Pixies.
Yeah, Pixies never like. There's certain bands like Husker Du, the Pixies. They just don't. They don't die. Like the music lives on forever. Like it just goes on, and I love the fact that that was one of the reasons why I like looking at your stuff, because even in watching your videos, I like your style of playing. I like the style of singing and playing. But most importantly, why did you choose playing with the pick versus using your fingers? Picking's very fun.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just like I was never gonna be, a funky bass player. I was never gonna be doing any of that. And I wanted the digging in of the pick, the rhythm, and the kind of staccato energy, like that punk energy.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, that kind of as well. Another big influence is Peter Hook from Joy Division, and
yes.
he's very much a kind of what I love about him is he plays up here a lot, and you don't get a lot of punk, it's not usually up here, is it? It's usually just down at the bottom, and I like the way he plays his melodies. Say again.
So usually the lower register, and he does play. And I love that when you hear those little bing, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's a guitar. It's actually that's his bass.
Yeah, so it is.
All the melodies are being played at the higher registers. So if you hear how do you feel? How do you treat me like you do? That's all bass stuff. I mean, I love the fact that he uses bass as a melody. It's not, and then the keyboards, you hear, and then every once in a while he'll fill the gaps with that. But I love he breaks it down like that. I'm glad you picked him because I interviewed someone from England as well who actually chose him as well. Him and Mick Carnes from Japan was another influence that he actually mentioned. He played fretless bass. So part of the he was throwing out a bunch of Irish, English bass players. Really interesting concept.
Yeah. I don't think I could ever play a fretless, but I love listening to it. I love it on Kate Bush. I think there's a lot of fretless bass.
He does.
I just love the sound of it. It's really cool. Awesome. You don't see it very often, do you, these days? I don't see many people playing.
No, not in rock at least. You might get it in jazz once in a while. But there was one point in time where Pina Palladino, Tony Franklin, Mick Carnes, there were a couple of English bass players who literally introduced fretless. Because I know that the big fretless. Sting as well. Sting with the Police. Yep.
Such an 80s sound.
Yep. So I mean, thinking about like Walking on the Moon. It's like you have that whole. It just sustains forever. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so you had these cool brothers, and you had your parents give you all this cool music. When you decided to start the Empty Page, what was your songwriting style like? Like, what did you do? Did you write the riff first? Did you write the lyrics first? Did you think of the bass line? Because there were some songs I watched in some of your videos that they're very bass driven as far as and then you would literally sing your melody around the bass line. So tell me your songwriting process.
Oh, it's complicated because we don't always write the same way. But yeah, sometimes I will just come up with a little bass part and we'll build a song around that if we're just in the rehearsal room. And that's usually when the more Peter Hooky kind of high up at the neck bits come in. Like there's a song called He's Very Good at Swimming that's very much sort of up at the top, like and that's the sort of intro.
Okay.
Etc. And other times, more often than not, Giz, who plays guitar, he'll always just be riffing. He's always playing guitar. I don't think I've ever met anyone who plays guitar as much as he does ever since I've known him. He's just constantly playing guitar. So he'll record bits, and what I do is I make a rod for my own back because I listen to his guitar parts. Sometimes it's just guitar. Sometimes he'll come up with a bass line. I have to give him credit for that. And I'll be listening to it and I'll be writing as I would if I wasn't going to play an instrument. I'll just write the vocal based on feel, melody. Like it just kind of emerges. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Songwriting. Sure. I'll just listen over and over, and eventually the melody emerges. And usually the first one that I think of is the one that it ends up being, because it just is that's the guy. It's meant to be. Sometimes I'll wrangle with it a bit more, but what I'll do is I'll write a melody, I'll work on the lyrics and the melody, and then I will have to learn to play the bass along with what I'm singing. And oh my God, that's
like this part, and I gotta learn to play the instrument now. And then you gotta sing while you're playing it, and then you have to learn how to sing it together.
Yeah, and it's exactly like that sort of patting your head, rubbing your stomach thing. Like you have to sort of, it's a weird, like you have to just kind of, it's all, I feel like it's all muscle memory, and I'm never really thinking about notes, or it's just more about how it feels and how it sounds. Like I don't play based on, I can read music, but I don't really use that when I'm writing music. So I just feel it. And yeah, it's about getting the rhythm with the rhythm of the words, which I'm very much like an off the beat vocalist. So I really do, I do make my own life difficult. But you get there in the end. It's just loads and loads of practice. And there's so many times, even if it seems simple, right? Like you think it's a very simple part. It is a very simple part, but then the hard thing is that you're doing I know we all know this who's listening, but you are doing two very different types of thing at the same time. With the bass, you've really got to be that solid, reliable, steady in time thing. And as a vocalist, I'm very, I want to be loosey goosey. I don't want to be singing to rigidly to I want to have the feel and the emotion and be able to express that. So that's the hard thing. It's like sort of doing that very, very straight, being the straight guy and being the the wacky guy at the same time, kind of thing. But yeah, somehow
you're also I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're also singing melody, and you're trying to vibe with the drummer, and the guitar player's got to do his job.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on you. Like
thanks for acknowledging that.
Have you ever been in the position where you're playing live and you forgot lyrics and nor a bass line?
Oh yeah. I think only very rarely do I forget the lyrics, because they're somehow like they're mostly just in my brain because I've written them and they're just in there, and they rarely go. But I'll tell you what it is, it's just, you probably feel the same. As soon as you start thinking about it, that's it, you're fucked. Like, can I swear? Well, too late.
I like that English slur. Yes, you can.
So the only time when that happens is when I'm overthinking it. And again, so if I'm playing a bass line, that's kind of, to me, complicated, and I'm singing at the same time and something goes, that's it. It's all gone. And I usually just have to laugh at myself and pick it back. I will pick it back up, but yeah, it happens. And that's live music, isn't it? I like it when I watch bands playing and someone messes up, because I know they're not AI then, don't I? I know they're not on the track.
And I agree with you there, because I also like the fact that they're human, and it shows the human side, especially when they make a mistake and they laugh it off. They don't get pissed. You're like, we fucked up, man. No, screw you. The band's done. When the band does that, you're like, I didn't pay you just so you throw everything away. I'm buying the ticket here to watch you get past all your stuff and entertain everybody. So Yeah, that's got to be kind of a key thing, and most musicians they take it too seriously. And I can understand certain genres, but like if you're doing punky, alternative, new wave type stuff, it should be fun. It should be fun all the way. You know, like if you make a mistake, oh shit, I made a mistake. You know, no
Yeah,
one's leaving your show for that reason. Oh, you know, fuck her, I'm out of here. They're not doing that.
it's very punk to just crack on with it.
Yes.
I always have so much respect for a band when they just if it goes horribly wrong and then they just crack on and they just get on with it,
Yeah.
because it's I don't know, it shows a bit of I think when you're young, you know, maybe you have a bit of a tantrum.
Sure.
But yeah, I laugh at myself a lot. I have got whatever the opposite of a poker face is, that's my face. So you will know, even if you haven't heard my mistake, you'll know I've made a mistake because you'll see it on my
Sure.
face. Because I'll go,
Your face is like,
you know, I'll do something.
you'll crack
Yeah.
on and you'll just laugh it off and move on from there.
Yeah,
Speaking of scenes, like talk about the scene in England. Like I know the 80s was a big thing with the whole new wave punk scene. How is that scene comparatively now in 2026? What are you working with compared to the 80s? Or is there a scene, or is it am I kind of
Yeah, it's difficult. Do you know, like a lot of the artists that I really love came out of scenes. You know, like we talked about Fugazi and Black Flag and Bad Brains. You know, they were all like tied together in a thing, and I always wish that we had that. And I don't think we've.
Wait, hold on. I got to give a bow to I got to give a nod to Bad Brains and Fugazi.
Yeah. We are not worthy.
All those bands.
Yeah, one of the greatest ever. Yeah. I always, you know, sort of hanker after that, and that whole thing with like bands like Crass as well, you know, that were very supportive and very kind of, to me, looking back anyway, because it was a bit before my time. It always feels like that was this amazing, you know, communal thing, and I don't feel like we've got strictly a scene like that, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of friends in bands, and you know, we share each other's work and we play gigs together whenever we can, and we've got friends up and down the country in bands, and we, you know, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like there's a specific scene that I'm a part of. Maybe there is one, but I'm not a part of it.
Okay. Well, you have your own thing going, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I always try, you know, I'm always very there's a few really good bands in Manchester at the moment that we know and we go and watch them play all the time, and vice versa. And, yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah.
When you say a few bands, like what are the band names? What style of music did he play?
So there's a band called the Battery Farm that are really excellent. They're oh god, I can't really explain what they're not very noisy, intense, really emotional. I think a lot of the bands we like are very emotional bands. There's a band called False Advertising who are also really, really emotional. Also very clever, but but that's, for me, what I want is the human condition laid bare and vulnerable, and in all its like disgusting and beautiful glory. And that's the kind of bands I like. There's a band called The Dirt that we really like as well, that are just a two-piece, very sort of political lyrics, but very sort of heartfelt lyrics. I could probably think of loads. I can never think of bands on the spot, but there's loads of bands that we play with up and down the country. One of my favourite bands from England at the moment is called Desperate Journalist. They're friends of ours as well, and they're just this lush. But I suppose they sound to me like a bit like Joe, the vocalist. To me, is a beautiful mix of Bjork and Morrissey.
Wow. That's an interesting combination.
Yeah, if you listen, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's just exactly the sweet spot between those two, and the really sort of dark kind of. They probably would hate me for saying goth. No one who's goth likes to be called goth, but they sort of touch of that gothic kind of dark, bleak Britishness.
Okay, so speaking of vocals, who influences your vocals?
Oh, I have so many influences. I grew up listening to. I listened to a lot of Freddie Mercury, a lot of Queen, a lot of David Bowie.
Hold on. Paying homage to David Bowie, Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, both just incredible.
Both are incredible. Absolutely.
Yeah, in different ways, very different ways. Loved when I was a young teen, I listened to a bit of the sort of some of the heavy metal vocalists as well. I really liked the guy called Sebastian Bach in a band called Skid Row, who are probably not very cool, but he's got a phenomenal voice. Yeah, and then Tori Amos was massive for me as well.
Nice.
And yeah, Bjork too. PJ Harvey, all those kind of 90s. And then I've loved Kim Gordon, obviously. I love Sonic Youth. It's pretty, obvious. Yeah. But yeah, so many vocalists.
I hear Kim Gordon in your singing.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. So that's definitely cool. Now, if you had to do a collaboration with any of those artists, which one would you pick? And what would you do as far as collaboration? Would you co-write with them? Would you play bass?
Oh my God. I'd love to work with Bjork. I think it'd be nice to have her just sort of work her magic on something. I'd probably let her lead and just kind of probably the whole time feel like I'm not worthy and shouldn't be there. And that's kind of generally how I ever feel if I collaborate, if anyone ever asks me to work with them. But yeah, I think she's just such a genius.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, very cool. Now the Empty Page. So what band were you in prior to starting the Empty Page, and what led you to that band?
So what led me to the first band?
No, the second band. I mean, the Empty Page, where you currently are now.
Yeah, so I was in a band called Obsessive Compulsive, and we were kind of a sweet spot kind of between metal and punk, I suppose. We had a lot of like hardcore punk kind of influences and a little bit of like that noisy. I'm not hugely into metal, but we had a little bit of, I mean, if you think about like how Motorhead kind of sit in both of those categories, that's the kind of band we were. And we did it for a long time, did it from my very early 20s, and worked really, really hard, toured our asses off all over the world. And it just, got to a point where really the other guys were just, just weren't really, didn't want to really do it anymore. And we, at that point, we felt like we'd wrung that band out and we wanted to do something fresh. And I think what we did with the Empty Page was we went back to our like formative years and thought about, really it was a lot of 90s influences. Like I said, we went into a rehearsal room and played some covers, and the Empty Page kind of came out of that. It wasn't necessarily meant to become a band. It was more just that the three of us wanted to play some songs that we liked. But very quickly we started to be inspired by the covers that we were playing. And it's funny because when I was in my first bands, we never really played covers. I know a lot of people start with playing covers, and we never really did that in other bands I was in. It just came straight. I just started writing songs, and probably not very good songs, but
writing originals right away, almost immediately.
Say again?
So you went straight into writing originals when you joined the band. You didn't did not what Gretchen's normally cover tunes, and then eventually they go into songwriting. You went right into the original tunes.
Pretty much. I started doing bits of backing vocals in other people's bands, and they were doing covers. But as soon as I was writing my own, as soon as I wanted to be in my own band where I was the front person, it was my own original songs for what it's worth. I just never, I just didn't. Covers were not out of interest to me at that point. Perhaps because I probably couldn't have played anyone else's songs, so I just went straight into doing our own thing. I don't know. Yeah, it is a bit weird. And then the next band I was, that was early bands, and then after that, I just kept doing my own thing. But this was kind of like we'd never really done covers, so we just thought it'd be fun to try it. We never were going to play them in public or anything. It was just for our own entertainment. But yeah, that helped us. I think it helped us recalibrate,
Yeah, awesome. So where do you see the Empty Page in the next 5 years per se? Because I know you guys have been playing for a while. I've seen some of your videos. Yeah, so a little bit. So like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And like, what do you want to do? Are you looking to do anything outside of the band, or are you looking to just kind of enhance what you have at this point?
No, I think we just want to keep going. I see myself as a lifelong artist, a lifelong musician. It would be really nice to play to more people, to play around the world. We've recently been reaching a lot more people like yourself on Instagram. We've been the algorithm for some reason started to bless us a little bit recently.
That's awesome.
And you don't think that's ever going to happen, and especially with all of this talk of this chaotic good thing that there was a big story recently about, you know, this manipulation of the algorithm by record labels with fake fans and all the rest of it. We honestly, it was quite funny because I'd been hammering away on social media because I'm very much like, I think I can do it myself. I don't think I need any of you guys, you know, I can just do it myself. I've always had that mentality because a lot of the bands I like have done that. And then of course the internet changed things a lot. But with the social media thing, I was like, well, if I just keep on hammering these reels out, you know, eventually they'll reach people. And they weren't really doing anything. And then I read this chaotic good thing and I was like, ah, great, you know, what I feel like what I've just been, I felt stupid almost for thinking that those reels were ever going to reach anyone without me having the muscle of the industry behind me. And then one day I put a video up talking about playing music as all, you know, till you die kind of thing, not
I saw that video. That video is one of the reasons why you're on here.
Yeah, and loads of
very, very interesting. That got my attention. I loved what you said there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's weird. I just switched. I don't do a lot of talking videos, and I switched the camera, and I was in a bad mood, and I wanted to rant about it. And I'd put that on TikTok like 6 months earlier, and it hadn't really done anything. And then one day I was feeling it again. I was like, I'm feeling really fed up about this, and I can't be the only one. So I re-edited it because I'm a very verbose person, as you can tell, and I edited it down as much as I could to under the 3-minute you know, Instagram thing. Flushed it out, didn't really think about it, posted and ghosted, came back the next day, went, oh, that's resonated with a lot of people and it's still going. And then we were putting more and more different music reels and they started to resonate with the right audience too. Because one of the things is that with the algorithm is that it wants to send it to whoever's most engaged. And sometimes that's not the music fans you're looking for. Sometimes that's people who are angry with whatever you're saying, or, you know, it's a complicated thing. But recently we've been reaching the right audiences, but a lot of people have been reaching are in Europe or in America. So a big thing we'd like to do is tour in Europe. America, we're a bit nervous about, partly because visas cost an absolute fortune if you're going over there from Britain. So to do it, you know, you get one-off show offers, but that's just not going to, it's going to be thousands of pounds for a visa. And politically, we're not really, you know, au fait with what's going on in the States right now. So we were a bit reluctant.
I blame you. Stay in Europe. And
so maybe Canada. Maybe we'll do a bit of Canada and people can pop over to see us in Toronto.
It's also god-awful expensive to tour here. Like you can't, like if you're going to tour here, you literally got to justify your expenses, because if you're doing one show in each state, it costs a lot of money to, and sometimes it doesn't justify the expense. So Europe seems to be, I played in Europe several times. I love the European market. They seem to be a lot more open to music. That's the beauty of it compared to America.
Compared to Britain as well, compared to England, like you get a lot more people. In my experience, I've played in Germany and Switzerland, and you tend to get a lot more people just going out, not knowing the bands, just going to see what's on. It doesn't really happen as much. Certainly in the big cities, that doesn't happen as much in England. They kind of have to know the band or have a reason to, you know, check it out. But I found that in Germany, people will just be there and they'll have never heard of you and they'll get into it and they'll buy stuff, and it just seems a lot more open, like you say. We have toured America with our previous band, and in a slightly covert way, but we don't feel that we could do that anymore, you know, with the current situation with we don't want to go over there with no visa. It's not a good idea.
Not good.
So
but they're much more experimental in Germany, Sweden, Netherlands.
They're
willing to take a risk with you, where here, not as much. It's like beer money or their merchandise. Beer money.
And also we're all a bit skint, aren't we? You know, we're all being, you know, subjected to things that are making our financial situations a lot harder at the moment. It's not necessarily the case in some places in Europe, or I'm sure it is in some, but not all. And Yeah. Also, they look after bands really well in mainland Europe. They'll put you up, they'll feed you, they'll pay you well. Here, like, you know, it's not always like that. You've got to find the good ones. You know, you've got to really search for the people that are going to be able to do that.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's a bit tricky, but we do okay in the UK. We play up and down the UK. We're going to be touring later in October.
Okay. For how long?
We're going to do we're probably going to do, originally we were going to do 10 dates, but it's probably going to be more like 20, I think now. It's starting to, ideally.
Okay.
I mean, I would play every single day of my life, honestly. If there was a way for me to just constantly tour, I would. I'm a bit like that. I'm that kind of person. I like to be on the road. I like to be, you know, living that kind of sort of life.
You really like that lifestyle.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I've travelled a lot. I've done like a lot of backpacking and things, so I know I can handle it. It's tiring. It's tiring, but it's nourishing for the soul. And yeah, if I could tour a lot, maybe not every single 365 days a year, but I really, really enjoy being out and about.
Now, do you prefer touring over recording in the studio? Would you rather be on the road?
Yeah. Like, I really love writing songs. That's the sort of inside version of what I like about being in a band. For me, that's quite solitary because I write a lot before we go to the room with it. And I do like the results of recording, but I find it so painful. I just find the recording process it's draining and it's intense, and there's a lot of pressure, and I nearly always cry in the recording studio. I nearly always end up crying. If I've not cried, it's probably there's something wrong.
Have you ever gotten to the point where you said, "This sucks"?
Do you know what? There's a voice in my head 24/7 that says that everything I do sucks. So, but I shouldn't trust that voice. I've learned that I shouldn't really trust that voice.
Ignore that voice. Ignore that voice. Speaking of that voice, let's talk about imposter syndrome. So, is this something that's a reoccurring theme for you? Because I know it is for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like, not just in music, in everything that I do, I always feel it. Like an alien, like that, you know, someone's going to find me out, that I shouldn't be there. I'm going to get muscled out. They found me. I feel like that a lot, and I feel like that certainly as a bass player. Like, it feels, when you asked me, as you know, when you asked me to do this, I was like, ooh, but I'm not a proper bass player though. Like, you know, I'm not like those other guys that you're interviewing that, you know, noodling away, that are, you know, talking about all the technical side of things and the gear and the pedals. It's just, I'm everything I do comes from emotion rather than technical stuff. But yeah, there's a constant self-doubt, and it's something I've wrestled with, and I have like varying results. Like, very occasionally that voice will get into my head when I'm playing live, and they're always the worst gigs ever because I just can't enjoy myself. But that's rare. When it happens, I'm always like, I had one of those gigs and that sucks.
So that voice just sneaks up on you, and as you say, out of nowhere, the voice just sneaks in. And like, give me an example of when that actually happened to you. Like, give me an example of that.
We played a gig a while ago in a really cool music venue called Night and Day in Manchester, and we supported this band called The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die. A great band from the States. I can't remember exactly where in the States they're from. And I remember playing the gig and all the way through just thinking, everyone in this room thinks we suck, and I'm just the worst. This is awful. All the way through, it was horrible. And I anyway got through it, came off stage, went to the merch stand, feeling very vulnerable. And someone from the headline band came up to me and he goes, "You're one of the coolest bands we've ever played with." And I was like, has someone put you up to this because they know that I'm feeling like this? I still couldn't believe that he was telling the truth. That's how hard it is sometimes. That's how deep that voice goes sometimes.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and I don't know why it is really like that, but I think that when I'm feeling in my more sane moments, I remind myself that everyone I know who's brilliant feels like that. They always people always tell me they feel like that. The brilliant people always tell me they feel like that, and everyone I know that thinks they're better than they are is like super confident, like they're just not actually as good as they think they are, and they have no self-doubt. I think if you've got self-doubt, then you're probably doing something right.
I would say so. When I've met players who are overly confident, I wouldn't say super confident, because super confident means that you're not compensating for anything. So I would say overly confident, because they're compensating for something. When I met those types, they usually weren't that good. They were just okay. I mean, if anything, it was like it superseded their ego. If anything, the ego was a dominant factor. But when you watch them play, you're like, you know something, he's playing like he's the best thing since sliced cheese. So he's able to sell it to people for the most part. But then when you hear him note for note, you're like, he's not that good. You know, I'm a performer. I run around the stage. There's times where I think I'm being annoying.
Yeah.
I'll watch someone else perform and go, that guy's kind of annoying me. Am I like that?
Yeah.
Am I annoying where like they're dancing around and watching, hitting wrong notes, and I'm saying to myself, I like how I look, but am I being annoying at the same time?
Yeah, and other people probably watch you thinking, I wish I could be like him. He's so cool. I would probably be watching you going, oh man, I wish
that's why I get when I'm done. But still I say to myself, thank you. You sure I didn't annoy you? You sure I didn't get you nervous?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? But that's what I probably to this very day still. I've gotten through a lot of bands for they would say, oh, you're taking away from the singer. I'm like, and then I would hear people say, well, the singer's insecure because you help bring the audience in. So why is he getting upset?
Sorry.
No worries. I mean, I like the idea. I'm not doing it to try to outshine the singer. I'm trying to do it to uplift the band so that there's a much more of an experience from the audience perspective. I'm not doing it to go, well, I'm here to compete with you. No, I'm not. I'm here to actually share the stage with you. You know, think of like Flea from the Chili Peppers. If you got rid of him, you literally lose 75% of the band.
Yeah, huge amount of energy and talent. I think that it depends on the singer as well. Like some singers want a little help with that interaction side of things with the audience. Like not every singer wants to be. Just because you're the singer, it doesn't mean that you want to be this loud center of attention, big, thing. Some of my favorites, I remind myself of this sometimes, that some of my favorite singers and front people hardly say a word during gigs, and they're just, they're not the ones going, okay, we're gonna split the room up, everyone on this side, everyone on that side, kind of thing. Like, I'm not that guy.
We're gonna play charades, everybody, come on. They're not like that.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Morrissey. Morrissey's not like that. PJ Harvey's not like that. They're not they're not that kind of vocalists. Which sometimes HR from the Bad Brains, I loved him because you're there to watch him. You're there to watch. You're there. I find that there are vocalists who don't do a lot of that, but you're there for the experience. They don't have to do it.
That's kind of what I hope. Yeah. In an ideal world, the audience would be compelled to sing along and move, and I don't need to tell them. I've never really wanted to be someone who tells people what to do from the stage, and some people do that really well. And I've got friends in bands that do that really well, and I watch the bands that I do like, where I'm like, oh, you're so good at that. But that is not me, and it would just be so weird if I started doing that kind of thing, because it doesn't feel comfortable for me. So yeah.
I don't see you doing Another by Nature hip hop parade.
Yeah. Everyone on this side, all the ladies. No, it's not gonna happen.
The men in the house, now the women in the house, now trans people, LGBT people. People give their shout outs. Yeah, I don't see you doing that. But I also see your music. Your music tells a story in itself. And you're kind of like you're the liaison to your music. So you don't really have to do it. And you have exciting band members. So
Yeah.
just watching your stuff, I'm like, you know something, you don't really have to do much. I mean, I like the way you perform. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking if I didn't like the way you perform. But
I
I was
like
like,
to. I speak a lot. Like every now and again, an outburst will happen. I'll get on my high horse about something, and then you won't be able to shut me up for like 3 minutes, and then we've lost a song from the set. But I didn't used to do that very much, actually. I used to be a bit more nervous about talking on stage, and I started to do it more just in a natural way. Like there's never any kind of script. I'm not Axl Rose, repeating the same spiel at every gig before the same song. I couldn't do that, but there's
that
things,
hasn't been working for him lately. For the most part, people are like, shut up. We're tired of hearing you.
Yeah.
Just shut up and sing.
Yeah, but I think sometimes, especially in the current world we're living in, sometimes it is important to talk. And I do find that a lot of people come up to me afterwards and go, what you said about whatever was really important, and really affected me, like really made me think, or whatever it is. I tell you what else happens a lot at our gigs. It's been happening more and more, is that people tell me that I made them cry.
Oh wow.
I know.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds cruel, but it's the hugest compliment. I don't think
people, like, unless you if you berated them, you so and so, you suck.
Yeah, it's not because I'm being really mean. Yeah,
you're being mean. I'd say, something. I can understand why they were upset, but then if you tugged in their heartstrings with one of your songs, or you said something that really hit home with them, that's a good thing.
That's what it is. And so I'm always, I think it's pretty much the best compliment anyone could give me, to tell me that they're something caught in their heart while I was performing, because it's really emotional for me. And I think, going back to the anxiety and the self-doubt, quite often when I've had a performance where I've felt super anxious, that's when people go, oh my God, I can really feel it. And I think that in a way it works, because the vibration, the anxiety, and that's why we kind of clung on to that after a while. People were saying it a lot, so we started calling ourselves anxious alternative rock.
That's kind of cool.
It's just what's the word? Just like just kind of like lean into it, like the anxiety's there, the nerves are there, and partly because I mean it as well. And sometimes I nearly cry when I'm singing, because I really do mean what I'm saying. I'm writing from the heart. So, and it's the way that I sing is, quite emotional. So, of course, sometimes it's going to get me as well.
Yeah. Well, I would hope that you're writing, you are sincere, like you're not trying to fake it. But I think you should do more of that, because that's what got my attention when you said play until you die. And I said, okay, I need to speak to her, because I like the fact that you said that. If I watched you just play and watched you sing, I would have liked you just as much.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that you had something to say. It wasn't just sing, perform, play, sing, perform, watch, rinse, repeat. You actually had a thought that actually resonated with me. And I was like, this is something interesting. Let's get her to talk about it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was cool.
I am glad to hear it.
Yes. No, I think you need to do more of that, actually. So speaking of which, do you have any gripes that you want to talk about now? anything in the world anything that's getting on your nerves you want to get off your chest?
Oh, all day, every day. Don't get me started. I'll tell you what, I might do a video on this at some point, but one thing that winds me up is that and I'm trying to work out how to articulate it without offending people, is when a woman picks up an electric guitar and makes loud music, there's always going to be someone that decides to call it Riot Girl. And it's been happening a little bit lately. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love Riot Girl, like the movement of Riot Girl, the fanzine, the bands that were around at the time. It created a lot of really great bands, and it was a really important thing in 1993. But I feel that male musicians, they're allowed to have all these different genres. They're allowed to just be, and when you're a woman, people always want to put you in this tiny little category of Riot Girl, and what we're doing is influenced by by many different types of music, many different artists. Some of them are riot girl artists, but we're you know, all kinds of influences, and you know, it feels like you're being put into this tiny little box sometimes. That's something that's getting on my nerves at the moment. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that? Like I grew up with a very strong mother. So for me, that was never a big deal. Like I don't have that, and I don't want to go into religion too much, but I find that it's the idea that the man is here and the woman is here. So therefore she only is limited to doing this, and this. I wasn't raised with that. So for me, it's like you grab an instrument, female, male, as long as you're good at what you do, who gives a shit? That's just where my head is at. But most people, if you're raised in this very patriarchal way of thinking, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing something else. You should be knitting and sewing, you know, making macrame and sewing, you know, hats for babies, stuff like that. And you're
I've had people leave comments on our videos saying you just need to get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. Like that's a real comment that has been left on our videos before now by men like that.
You should have responded, you don't want me to make you a sandwich. You might not survive the next day.
Yeah. You don't know what I'm going to put in that sandwich.
You know what I'm going to put in that sandwich, so you don't want me to make that sandwich. Don't get too comfortable with that comment.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, the stuff that people will say to women online. And it is different. And I know that it's different because I've been in bands with men who've never been in a band with a woman before, who have gone, holy shit, like they're suddenly horrified by the many tiny death by 1,000 cuts. Sometimes they seem like small things, but the many tiny little microaggressions and dismissals and whatever. And they're like they're like so shocked because they've never had to experience that before.
No, but in 2026 that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
in 2026 it should not be happening. It's just a lot of people holding on to all this old, outdated crap that doesn't make any sense. I think a lot of it's also insecurity. I don't want her to be better than me. That's all.
Yeah, and it's that thing of I've been trying to find the right terminology for it actually, and I can't quite get it. But you know, like when a certain demographic has always been the majority and has always had all the power, and then a little nudge goes in this direction, and suddenly it's all of those people are taking over. There's millions of whatever it is, whether it's women, whether it's a race thing, whatever it is, suddenly it's like, oh, there's loads. Everyone is not whatever I am now.
Nothing's happening.
It's like this tiny, like we've gone from being 25% to being 27%, and suddenly you think we're like 99%. Like
99%.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, honestly, the best thing with comments like that, I wouldn't even entertain them because they don't deserve it. They don't. Number one, like why empower someone? Make me a sandwich. I mean, of course, my deviant side's like, you don't want to know what's going to go in that sandwich.
Yeah, you want to reply and be snarky like that, but they want attention. A lot of the time, they're trying to make it about them.
Exactly. The fact that, hey, she responded to me. That was awesome. I was able to get her upset. I was able to poke the bear and get her pissed off. But if you pull them off, that's even worse for them.
Yeah, they can't stand it.
Yeah, they don't
being ignored.
Yep. Okay, so we're coming near the end of our interview. So what would you tell someone who's interested in getting involved in music, especially in the songwriting aspect of it, not just playing the instrument, but being able to be a performer? Like, what advice would you give to a young budding musician, especially female player in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, there was a trend a while ago to say, oh, don't do it, don't get into it. I would say completely the opposite. I think a life without creativity of any kind is really, quite an empty life. And I'm not saying that you've got to be brilliant at something either. And it doesn't have to be music. It can be art, it can be drawing, whatever it is. I think you've got to do things that aren't purely for commercial purposes. That's one thing. The amount of people that ask me, the first question they ask me when they find out I'm in a band is, are you making any money from it? And it's like, whether I am or I'm not, That's not the point. You've got to do things that nourish your soul, that are creative pastimes that help you make sense of the human condition. So just do it and don't worry about being good at it or not, is the thing I would say first. I've managed to not be a very good bass player, and I still am a bass player, and here I am on a bass players podcast. But like, yeah.
Did I lose you? Oh man. Hold on a second. Kel back on. I think I lost Kel. Hope your phone didn't die. It could have. Hey, whoever's watching, I lost my guest. I think her battery might have died. So you can hang tight and wait for it to get back on, or you can log on to our next episode. There she goes.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
I thought your battery died for a second.
Someone tried to ring me. They're gonna be in trouble. Yeah, so do it even regardless of whether you think you're good at it or not, because it's not about being good at it. It's about the journey, and it's about the pleasure that you get from trying to do something and doing something for purely kind of creative purposes, and not for any other reason. So do that, and just pay a lot of attention and write. I write every single day. I write words every single day. And most of it is a load of crap, but then I go back through it and find the good stuff. So just don't feel that you've got to write a complete song. Just write stuff down all the time, and eventually you'll pull together enough interesting things that will form a really good song. That's how I do it.
Awesome. Kel Page from the Empty Page, bassist, vocalist. Thank you very, very much. This was actually pretty enlightening, and I'm glad that towards the end you were like, yeah, I got a little bit of a gripe. Let me talk some crap a little bit.
You asked. You opened the door.
I'm very big into that. Actually, it's so funny. When I was in the radio, I can't remember the station, but I did a tour in Germany. Yeah, well, I did Germany. It was Germany, Ireland, Poland. And I remember every time I get invited on the show, it always turns into, it's music at first, then it's music, race, and politics. Oh, and I'm sorry, and food. Somehow food pops up, because I'm a big fan of cooking, organic and growing your own stuff. So that pops up, and half the times I'm a hired gun for the band. I'm not even the primary guy. They go, it's like the way you talk. So they want you.
Do you do any food podcasts?
I want to start eventually. Like I post stuff. I post like, because I had heart failure 3 years ago. So I post things like beets, seeded watermelon, coconut water, a whole lemon. They always say lemon juice, but I always say a whole lemon, ginger, of course, turmeric, fresh ginger. And I'm a big promoter of that kind of stuff, because here we poison everything, pesticides. And my ex and I, we had a garden, so I loved that stuff back in the day. And now you realize that. Let me backtrack for a second. I was on a radio show, and I remember this host asked me, the question came out of nowhere. She said, this was in Germany. She said, how does it feel to be a member of a country that takes pleasure in poisoning its citizens? That was her question. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I said, well, it doesn't feel particularly good, and it's all for profit. That's really repulsive.
And not just its citizens, but the citizens of South America, Latin America, and the farmers out there that they're decimating. And it's But
eventually I will do one, just not yet. I want to kind of cultivate the bass thing first, and then I want to expand it upon. I want to do food and working animals, like animals that like therapy dogs, pets, cats. Cause if you notice, my cat jumped in frame before, So like, I tell people, the ones that love you the most are the ones who can't disappoint you. Is your animals.
That's true. Well, unless they piss on your things, That's a bit
Well, they can
disappointing.
piss you off for the moment, but think about it. When they, how fast,
Emotionally.
you know, like, you're like, no, don't do that
Yeah,
ever again.
well,
And
I
now he's
know.
like, man, I'm sorry, I should have done that to you, bro. Because they
I
would.
have 2 cats as well. I'm surprised my cats didn't make an appearance actually, because I've got 2. But that, like I said to you when we first, one of my cats at the moment is just collapsed in the kitchen, like because it's so hot. Manchester is not used to this weather, and we were like 31 degrees or something today, which I know sounds like nothing, but for us it's just
No,
insane, and it's humid as well.
yeah.
So we're all just like sweating our asses off today. So my cats are just like
Wow.
in the coolest part of the house that they can find. They're not feeling very sociable.
You're used to getting lots of rain. It
Yeah,
tends to be cooler for the most part, and you have sun and heat. So 31 degrees Celsius, right? You do Celsius and
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we
I
do
don't know what that
Fahrenheit.
is in your money, but
Yep.
it's hot.
Yeah, that's actually
we
pretty
used
awesome.
we used to like 13 to 15 like most of the time, and obviously
Okay.
less in winter. But yeah,
Wow.
it's a heat wave. They've declared it a heat wave, and it's probably hotter. It'll be hotter down south. Like we're in the northwest, which is a cooler climate generally. But
Sure.
yeah, everyone's
Sure.
just, we really want to appreciate and enjoy this weather because we don't get much of it. But everyone is just really struggling.
It's like, yeah, but let's bitch about it.
I know. I don't want to
Yep.
complain. But yeah, we wrote a song about the rain in Manchester. We wrote a song about how the reason why we have so many creatives here is because we never get to go out. We're not out enjoying the world because it's always raining. So we have to sit inside and make something, entertain ourselves. And certainly in like the 80s, that's why I think we have a lot of really great music, because people sat inside feeling sorry for themselves and wrote brilliant songs out of that.
Yes. Well, think about Joy Division. They look at a lot of them, and bands like them, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, PJ Harvey, is it Bjork? I mean, all that.
Yeah, she's Icelandic, but she's kind of an honorary Brit.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she used to live in my area. She was here.
Really?
She lived. I used to live in a town called Piermont. She was 2 towns over, in Sneden's Palisades. I ran into her a couple of times at the supermarket at the.
Oh my God!
Yes, her and her husband, who was an artist at the time, I think divorced, but he's kind of like a crazy artist type. Her husband, and they would show up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was really, really interesting seeing her. She was standoffish,
Yeah.
not the social. She's definitely hangs back. If you acknowledge her and you say hello, you get one of these.
She's not known for wanting to have a chat with people, is she? Well, fair enough. Why should she? Just because you're a successful musician, it doesn't mean that you owe everyone. Just like this whole Chapel Roan thing recently. There's this idea that people owe them all of their free time, and they're all human beings, aren't they? But yeah, I would really struggle to not just like collapse in front of Bjork.
She's shopping for food at a farmer's market. She's
exactly.
Hanging out. Bjork, how's it going? You're my biggest fan. And then, of course, like, get away from me.
Yeah. What a dream to be hit with a Bjork's handbag. I would love it.
Hit by an apple. She picks one. Like, poop.
Yeah. Oh, you'd dine out of that story for the rest of your life.
So, yeah. No, she's awesome. Kel, thank you very, very much. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Yep. We should do this again. When you go on tour, let me know.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
States, I would definitely want to see you live. If you're ever in New York, that would be pretty awesome to see you live.
Yeah, I will let you know if we ever make it back up. I mean, we would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, logistics aside, we'd love to.
Yep. All right, cool. So I'm going to end it now. Then I'll have you do a tag in 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. And now your tag is going to be, hey, everybody, this is Kel from the Empty Page. Or you can say Kel, bassist vocals from the Empty Page. And you're watching Father Groove's Groovy Bass Podcast.
Yeah, this is the bit that I'm going to.
If you mess it up, we can do it again. No big deal.
Okay. Shall I just do it now?
Yep. And action.
Hi everyone, this is Kel. I'm the singer and bassist in the Empty Page, and you're listening to Father Groove's Groovy Bass podcast.
Okay, cool. Now give me another one where you're watching because we're visual. Okay, and
well, watching. Sorry.
From nowhere. Okay, and action.
Hi, this is Kel, vocalist and bassist in the Empty Page, and you're listening to. Sorry.
Do it again. Here we go, and action.
Hi everyone, this is Kel, bassist and vocalist in the Empty Page, and you're watching Father Groove's Groovy Bass podcast.
Awesome. Let's end the stream.